Blatancy is a damn good camouflage. And I want to show you that today. I want to show you how something can be so completely in your face, you'd never see it. It's just too right there. A great horned owl, actually all owls, they have no nearsighted vision. They can see forever. I mean, not forever, but, they can see for miles. They can hear a mouse under the snow a kilometer away. But if you get right here, if you get just with like an inch of their eyes, they can't interpret things. The thinking is probably that, well, who in their right mind would ever get that close to an owl? And over time, its receptors changed. It let go of its short-term vision, its short-range vision. It was so blatant that there's no way that the owl could ever see. I used to train owls right here. I would keep them in this house and put them on perches and whatnot. And that was the safest thing I could do, is to get like right up in their face. There's safety there. And you have to do it quick. You can't slowly creep in. He's going to see that. You got to just get right there. It's blatancy camouflage. It's the perfect kind of camouflage. There are two kinds of camouflage being used today. One is blatancy, and the other is just sheer discomfort. You can hide something behind something that's uncomfortable to look at. That's probably our more popular form of it. I've covered that a lot. I'm not going to go over that one here. I want to talk about blatancy today. And I want to talk about the beautiful state of California. Man, what a shithole. It's really, really gone downhill fast. First of all, let me, come right out and say I've lived in California twice in my life. I've been there too many times to count. I've run a business out there, out of Mill Valley, north of San Francisco. I've spent time in San Diego. I'm certainly not an expert on California, but I've been, I guess, 20 years or so. I've been there and back. I'm in North Carolina now, much happier. But I don't say this about California to sound disparaging. I love California. It used to be the place I really wanted to be until I went there. And it's not the people's fault. It's not the land's fault. Well, it could be the people's fault. It's not the land's fault. It's the government. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how the government can be so blatantly bad and still somehow get away with so much in broad daylight. Because right now we think what we're doing is an accident. We're under the impression that the things that are happening in California are mistakes. That's all. And if we could just get the right person in office, right, we're going to finally figure it out. I mean, that's the thinking. And this is the blatant camouflage that I'm speaking about. This violates us across the board, not just in California. But boy, California is such a good example. Let me hit share. According to Forbes in April 2018, the top 4 reasons California is unsustainable, it's all government. Every single reason is because of the government. Here's another article, 50 reasons why California sucks. You don't have to scroll down here. First of all, I underline the fact that they could come up with 50. That's pretty impressive. And secondly, every single one of these reasons is government. Every single one. Keep in mind that all of the politicians in California are always reelected every time. We're going to talk about this election thing again because it's another form of camouflage, which is you're hiding behind things that are uncomfortable. I mentioned that earlier. They're using that one too. Let's talk about this fire, okay? Let's talk about the fires that happened about 3 days ago. So there's this thing going around called toxic positivity. It's when anyone who points out anything that's not positive is shunned or ignored purely from the fact that the chemicals that would be required to listen are unpleasant. Therefore, we should ignore you. That's toxic positivity. It's something that's invaded our cultures for a long, long time. I would say since the invention of heat. Once we learned how to be comfortable, we started to learn how to preserve that comfort. We considered it a vital part of our mental life to ignore things we don't want, to not see things, despite how blatantly in our face they are. This is a form of mind control that we do to ourselves. It's how we survive. But it's a form of mind control that others do to us too when they know how your endocrine system works, when they know how your adrenals work. So the other day, I mentioned this about California, and someone had posted about how, there's too many doom fags around. Everybody's just all down and upset about how bad things are. Things are great. Things are fantastic. People need to stop complaining so much. And I can respect that because where I live, it's beautiful here. I'm surrounded with deer. I've got raccoon and possum hanging out at night on my porch. It's a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood I live in. I purposely moved outside the city as far as I could 20 years ago and spent as much effort and time as I could trying to build a sustainable life away from Babylon. Not that I don't still participate in Babylon. Of course I do. But my house, the place where I live, the place where I wander is not. In fact, right as I'm talking to you, there's a chickadee at least 4 inches away, right behind you, on my feeder right now. Things are great. I freaking love it here. But I feel like I owe an obligation to my country to look around and see. And if you look in California right now, we are talking about a Mad Max scenario here. We are talking about massive, massive fires that just keep getting worse. This has been happening since 2017. Let me open these up so I can show you. Sorry, guys, I should have been better and pulled the camera off and then back on and been more dynamic. I'm going to get better at this. I really am. I appreciate you trying me out here. We're going to open all these up because I've done a lot of work here to prep these guys for you. Let's see here. Yeah, we went over that one. We went over that one. Okay. So the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection has come up with their releases about what caused the fire. All these fires since 2017, 2018. And of course, this is probably not news to a lot of you guys. They were all considered, not all, but so many of them were considered the fault of the power company. Electric power distribution lines, sagging lines, just a lot of neglect, basically, causing these issues. Here's one from Saggy Power Lines. Keep in mind, this is October 9th, 2018. You're going to see this date a lot. 10,000 acres for civilian fatalities, Here's May 15, 2019. This is, again, another of the fires. This one started exactly 1 month later on November 8th, 2018. A fitting date, I might add. Electrical transmission lines. And then a second fire, again caused by vegetation and electrical distribution grid. Here's another one, January 24, 2019. Caused by a private electrical system. Another huge fire. That one's 36,000 acres. Destroyed 5,600 structures. 22 civilian fatalities. Again, another electrical fire. That was also October. Here's another one that basically encompassed 12 fires in total that broke up all across the state. Every one of these fires was October 8th and October 9th, and every one of these that was reported was blamed on PG&E, the power company, again for neglect. Governor Jerry Brown, of course, this is 2017, but just listen to what he's saying. He's telling the entire state, climate change has us on the road to hell. That's the governor. He goes on to say, climate change is real. It's a threat to organized human existence. And here's the key. You're going to see mass migration, vector diseases, forest fires, Southern California burning up. That's real, guys. And then he brings it on home. The governor of the state calls it the new normal. He expands that first quote I gave you by saying the world is not on the road to heaven. It's on the road to hell. Calling the fires a siege, calling the fires unavoidable, calling the fires the result of climate change. Those are some of the most selective fires we've ever seen. A lot of people are talking about like dew weapons and whatever. I don't even think you'd need it. All you really have to do is just stop taking care of the place. And it'd be easy. You could just say, well, no, it's because of environmental reasons. For the next decade, actually century, this goes back centuries, we're not going to do any fire prevention. We're going to pretend like that's how you care about the environment. Pay attention. By trying to save the environment, they burn the whole fucking place down. And we're supposed to believe, oh, it's an accident. It's just another darn accident. Darn it. If we could just get that right person in office. It's blatant camouflage. Blatant. It's so blatant that we can't see it. What I'm suggesting to you is that these swaths of fires are not only intentional, but they show a much larger goal. They show a much longer term view. They show a Leviathan moving pretty slow, like a brontosaurus, taking one step every year. It's so slow that us tiny humans aren't able to process and see. Did you realize that this year now we're actually we're telling people beforehand, hey, your house is going to burn down? Yeah, it's going to burn down on Tuesday. Like, we are so advanced in dictating where these fires are going to come that we're ahead of the curve now. And we're calling that good government. It's not preventing the fire. It's telling you your house is next. Again, it's the new norm. Just as Governor Brown said, this is the new norm. Just like one of the 50 reasons, or all of them being government, as to why California is a shithole. This is the new norm. It's been established. Hey, this is the way it is. And why? Because of climate. Because nature wants you to suffer. Not government. Nature. It's so twisted. Look at this burn path. It's freaking perfect. It's like someone's mowing the grass. It's like someone's stimulating a migration program. It's blatant. It's so blatant and it's uncomfortable that most people are going to be like, nah, it's bullshit. That ain't happening. In fact, they're going to go so far as to say that not only is what I'm saying impossible, but the idea that we might actually work to destroy our ability to communicate with each other, to muster on the ground, to react to emergency scenarios, is actually being removed by the state. This article with the ham radio, from now on, any private ham radio operators that are using repeaters on California land are going to be subject to a tax. They're claiming that the reason why we have to tax you is because of the $7 billion we spent on a cellular connection, which, by the way, burnt in the fire. We're gonna have to rebuild it. Sorry. That's the better way to communicate. We don't need all these citizens taking care of the land. We need the government to do it. This is the difference between FEMA and the Cajun Navy, but in California, it's stretched out over a long, long time. This is blatant camouflage. They're destroying your ability to be sovereign and to take care of your own land, to look at your own community and go, we don't need to be electing those guys anymore. More importantly, we need to actually build a real government, because what we have around us is a structure that's here to destroy us through fire, through climate change, and through mass migration, through taxes. This is cannibalism, and we need to create a government inside California to prevent what we're calling the government from doing that to us. That's how bad it is. The triage is so bad right now. So why make it miserable? Like, what is the motivation for making it so miserable there? And I would say to you that the answer is actually proven in other ways. If you look around, migration has always been a tool of dissonance. When you migrate a population, every person that's going is cutting off their ancestral roots. There's a psychic cord connecting us to the soil, to our ancestors. And that's being severed, and we have to rebuild that cord where we go somewhere else. This is actually amnesia. It's an ancestral amnesia. It's very crucial. This is why Exodus in the Bible with Lord technology, this is why every migration we've seen since then, if you look in Europe, what's causing all the problems, and not just Europe, if you look here too, if you look at the migrant horde that's been stimulated to drive its way up before midterms here, migration is the key to dissonance. And when everyone is in a state of dissonance, something really special happens. Everybody becomes predictable. Every single person becomes an asset because what they want can be easily predicted. You don't believe me? If I push you into a hole, I don't have to look in the hole. I don't have to ask you. I don't have to send a note. I don't have to call you. I don't have to send in experts and make predictions. I know exactly what you're thinking, and I know exactly what you want. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what sex you are, how many kids you have, how many kids you don't have, what your job is. I know what you want because you're in the hole. I know that. You become predictable. So not only is the camouflage blatant, it's profitable. It is so largely profitable. Now, please do me a favor and look with me for a little bit at California on the longer scale. I'm talking about decades. This is difficult to do because we are trapped in our own lives. We're fed not trapped, but what I mean is that we're stuck in our smaller bubble, and we're not really able to see how slow and methodical the Leviathan is. The Leviathan is always feeding, and it wins because we get tired. We have to sleep. We have to raise our kids. We die. We have to have a career. At most we got 80 years at most. That's nothing compared to a 5,000-year-old cabal. It's nothing. It's no contest at all. Let's look at Seattle. Sorry, let me get this thing to come up here. There. It's a Seattle police officer. There's a great documentary. Actually, there's lots of documentaries. This isn't just one. The Death of Seattle is this one. I've got all this linked in the description. Seattle police officer. Drug dealers selling crack, meth, and heroin are evil people preying on the weakest part of society and belong in prison. That sounds good. We arrest them and nothing happens to them. They are back out on the street immediately. We need to acknowledge the disregard for human life inherent in selling life-ending drugs and lock the dealers up for serious time. This is not a single isolated quote. This is one of several. And this is just Seattle. Do you see all these needles here on the tarp? This is the Needle City, the city of needles. Seattle's the city of needles. And boy, look at them living up to it. These were found, not even found. It's not like you have to frickin' look for these things. This is just what Seattle looks like now. Imagine raising your kid and knowing that he's going out in the forest behind his house. And this is what's waiting for him. And when you complain about it, you're told this is a clean needle exchange. This all starts with the word clean. What you're seeing on this tarp, the government begins with the capital letter C, clean. They call this clean. This is what we're calling clean now. This isn't just Seattle, but it alludes to the symbology that I want you guys to see. Some of us already know that symbolism is a source of power, and it is. When you are symbolic, when you're symbolic, you are resonating the harmonic. It's no different than if I was to play a low C on a keyboard than a high C. It would be different sound if I played a low C and a high B or a high D. If I hit that C again, something magical happens. What? Well, let me tell you. This is actually how magic works. This is the entire secret of magic is oscillation. All right, so you got one note, C. You hit another note that's higher, another C. You now have a third note, and you're on the plane too. You now have a third note that you could hear. You can hear, but you're not actually having to play the next C. This is resonance. It's no different than one tuning fork in a room of several other tuning forks that has the same resonance is going to start vibrating when you do. That's what these this is what it's all about. This is a symbolic spell. I'm now breaking it down for you. California is a shithole, not an accident, not because of bad politics, but because someone's casted a spell on it a long time ago. And they're seeing it unfold before our eyes. The needle is the source of the injection. This is how you add dissonance to a culture. And this is why everyone gets reelected. Because everyone who lives there has been thrown into a pit. The entire West Coast. From Seattle all the way down to San Diego. Everyone's been pushed into a pit. And when you're pushed into a pit, we know what you want. We know what your goal is at that point. And that's really what an asset really is. An asset is not a secret undercover agent that is lying to you in public and then turning around and snickering. That's not how it works at all. But any of us would be able to see through that. An asset is someone who's predictable. That's the entire definition of it. If you can find someone out there in the world that's predictable, you have a motor. You can tap into that motor because you know what it is they want. You're able to predict them. That's why Epstein is such a great lackey for Wexner. The guy was masturbating a couple times a day. He was predictable. Wexner knew exactly what he wanted. This is the key to assets. You don't have to have some secret underground base where you're sending them there going, ooh, let's give you a lot of money and teach you how to lie, where you're learning separate timelines. No one can burn that many calories for their entire life. This Hollywood idea of a secret spy that's pretending to be one way and is actually another is total bullshit. Assets believe what they think. If they didn't, you wouldn't believe them. That's why they give you truth mixed in with that vine of lie that's wrapping around it. They believe it. They believe it. It's their predictability that allows that vine, that lie, to wrap around them. Because their needs are very focused. And that's what makes them so predictable. Seattle isn't even the only place that's bad. In fact, Seattle's probably not even the worst place. Because if you really, really want to understand just how much of a shithole California's turned into, we're going to need to go down to San Francisco. We're going to need to go right into the belly of the beast and figure out, why is San Francisco so bad right now? Keep in mind, I freaking love this city. This is my homies. Actually, it's funny. These are not my homies anymore. The people that I knew in San Francisco cannot handle the things that I'm saying now. In fact, I've been pulled off the websites of companies I work with. And I get that, by the way. I don't fault them for that. They look at me as a liability. Because I'm telling you about the spell of California, I am now a liability. You see how screwed up that is? I'm the bad guy. I'm causing trouble because I'm exposing it. I hate to even bring this up, but there's a freaking doo-doo map of San Francisco. It's been there for decades. And the same people are still elected. They're still being elected. How does that work? You know how it works. Because they're pushed into a pit. And when you're thrown into a pit, you're going to want the same thing. You're going to want salvation. You're going to want to burn a terrorist. You're going to want to burn a witch. You're going to want to find someone to blame for it, create the scapegoat, and convict them. Do something to them bad. Then you're going to magically feel better. This is how the spell works. This is why California was cast into this spell so long ago. Now we're going to get really weird. One of my favorite researchers, Tracy Twyman, rest in peace, recently passed away, was the person that, and Sean SB actually helped me out here too, first showed me who Lem was. If you don't know who this is on your screen, this is Lem. It's mal spelled backwards, French for bad or evil. This is the creature that Aleister Crowley claimed to see. The reason why I'm telling you about Lem right now is because we're going to have a little conversation about sodomy. If you guys have been tracking my work on demon possession, you've probably heard me say a few times that sodomy. So sodomy is actually, just so you know, the definition is like oral sex or anal sex. And I include both those in this. And I'm not a prude, by the way. But if you understand your body's a Taurus, if you understand that, you know that you don't actually put something in your body. If you put something in your mouth, it's actually not in your body. It's inside your Taurus. To put something in your body, you would have to slice open your skin and stick something inside. Vaccines go inside your body, but food goes inside your Taurus. And as it's coming down, because you're all basically a giant membrane inside, so your body's able to see what you're offering it. It's almost like there's an automat. It's probably too old of a term for most of you, but this conveyor of food that's coming down, and you're allowed to just pick what plates you want. Your body's doing that, basically. It's constantly picking, oh, okay, here's some French fries. Here's some coffee. Here's this. It's pulling things into you. The membrane inside you is a very susceptible, permeable way to enter your egoic force field. Sorry about that. From your outer skin, things are going to bounce right off you. Your epidermis is going to fall and it's not going to hurt you. But inside your body, you're much more vulnerable. So for you to put something in your Taurus is to trust it. When you're having anal sex, and I'm bringing this up because I've just been reading all the history of, if you really study demonology, what King James was talking about when he was looking for ways to kill witches, any kind of grimoire, any kind of book, it's always talking about kissing the anus of Satan, or some sort of anal sex ritual that's causing something to happen. This is a breach into your ego, which is how possession occurs. The reason why we go around shaming ego, telling everybody, oh, your ego's way too big, is because if you can lower your ego, you're going to be more prone to possession. The egoic field is actually your force field. I take a lot of flack for defending the ego, but I will go to my grave defending the ego every time, because I want you to be strong. I don't want you to fall for this virtue signaling bootlicking bullshit where we pretend like we're masochists and we walk around flogging the ego all the time. So Lem, this guy, I hate to say this, but it's true. I'm telling you, I really trust Tracy's work here. This is the homunculus. A homunculus is a creature that is born from semen, but through a dead vessel, through a dead portal. So basically, anal sex with an ejaculation is rumored throughout history to cause a homunculus to be born. And these things emerge from the anus. And what you're looking at down here are the anal glands secreting the homunculus. I know it's creepy as shit. I'm sorry. But we're talking about San Francisco as a shithole, and I need you to see this. What city in America would you call the sodomy capital of the world? Think back decades even. Now, sure, we're going to call it Pride, but underneath the word pride is the word sodomy. Because if you're looking at an LGBT movement, what you're really doing is every single letter in LGBT means I will not reproduce, but I will have sex. Every one of them. Now, some of you are going to go, no, not bisexual. It's like, actually, no, it still works that way, because to encourage someone to be bisexual is to encourage them to half of the time that they have sex, make sure it's a non-reproductive way that involves the Taurus. Someone cast a spell on San Francisco a long time ago. And we're talking about Hollywood. We're talking about Cult of Diana. We're talking about San Francisco. They have literally created a state that is so bad that it's an infernal, burning hell with rivers of shit and mountains of needles, of dirty needles. And all three of these things were given to you by government. And the blatant camouflage is so bad that everyone in California thinks, yeah, man, I'm going to have to reelect that fucker. Because it's so bad, we have to deal with this emergency now. And he's telling you, well, it's the environment. It's not him. So of course I'm going to believe that. Why? Because I got pushed in a pit a long time ago with taxes. I got pushed in the pit a long time ago with regulations. I got pushed in the pit for 50 reasons why California is the worst state in the union. Or for 4 reasons why California is the worst place you would ever want to live. We need to stop pretending like this is an accident. These things aren't accidents. The blatant camouflage is so powerful that none of us want to admit it. These things are happening in broad daylight, right in front of us. And the whole time we're told, oh, magic is make-believe. What we've got is science. What we've got is a model of the universe that we all understand. We're in the science now. So of course no one's going to be doing magic stuff. And here comes that blatant camouflage again, where it's just like, it's so obvious right in front of you. that you can't see it. Do you remember CERN? Do you remember the opening ceremony of the Gotthard Tunnel? Here's a Baphomet coming down, looking like the angel. That's nice, right? Here's a goat dude having humping. He was actually dry humping. A lot of these creatures that are underneath the veil, these are humans. That's nice, right? Here's the largest ritual circle ever made, at least in our, in our history, without amnesia. Think about, this is a ritual circle underground. It's an underground ritual circle for scientism. And guess what? It's counterclockwise. The small one's counterclockwise. It's Wunderschnitt. You see, CERN is one of several demon sigils. And I know you guys are like, oh, Dean, what the hell? These are just circuits. These are circuit diagrams. These sigils are ancient circuits. And because they're so ancient, you're able to pull things back up like Elam. The CERN 666 is that. This had nothing to do with Satan. This is actually predates Satan. This is more about the resonance I was telling you guys about, where you're taking the tuning forks and you're striking them. This is about resonance. But more importantly, what we think is happening in CERN isn't actually what CERN is doing. That's what's so blatantly amazing about it. You see, we're under the impression that the Gotthard Tunnel ceremony, the very first thing that happened, was just a weird ritual where the choreographer just kind of got out of hand. Because what's really happening there is science. Because what we're really doing is we're accelerating particles. And we're throwing them around underground. Now, bear with me here. What if it's exactly the opposite? What I mean is what if in order to get you to participate in that ritual of the opening ceremony, the only way they could do that is to convince you this is all for science? You're like, well, how would that work? So let's say that the elite understand that there is God. Let's see that not only do they understand that, but they know it. And let's say that they've created scientism in a desperate attempt to convince you there is not God. Now picture yourself God. You're up here, you're looking down, you're seeing CERN, you're like, oh, wonder what those guys are doing. Huh, they built a giant underground circle. Huh, oh look, they've got some kind of ceremony. I should check that out, see what my humans are doing. Oh, I see. They're calling a Baphomet. Okay. They've got rivers of shit and they're calling succubus. Oh, they've got goat gods and they're having sex with each other. The blatant blasphemy really goes a long way if you're a high wizard. Not to mention all the money that you'd make by convincing people to spend billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars digging a tunnel. It's such blatant camouflage. And I think what's happening in California already happened in CERN. And it's showing us how hard it is to find truth when, like the owl, it's like right in front of your face. It's just too hard. It's too hard to see. And because it's so hard to see, we're not really able to even have a decent look at truth. I think Epstein is a perfect example of that. Right now, we're celebrating media houses that are exposing Epstein. But these same media houses refuse to tell you 9/11 is an inside job. But we're still rewarding them as being bastions of truth. In fact, right now I'm going to release this video and it's going to get maybe 10% of the traffic as it would get if I would do something on the ABC reporter who found out what Epstein was doing, released the story, her boss wouldn't publish it, and then just went back to work the next day. And it took her 12 years to finally come forward. I'm sorry, 10 years to finally come forward and go, yeah. It was 3 years, sorry. Yeah, that was a bummer, but I kept working. It's not occurring to anyone in the community, well, if you're in this to tell the truth, why didn't you just publish that story yourself? Like, why would you not just go home and write that up and post it on social media? You could start a big career off that. But you don't. And we're calling you the hero of truth. Just like we're calling Project Veritas the hero for exposing CNN. That's what we're doing right now. We're exposing CNN. Like, that's where we're at. Some of you are going to be like, you're shooting friendly fire. And that's what I'm trying to get through to you. How can we call people our friends who are pretending to be bastions of truth and still, after 18 years, almost 18 years, not one of them will come out and say, hey, I think 9/11 was an inside job. The reason why this happens is because of blatant camouflage. And it's going to keep happening because it's profitable. As long as it's profitable for people to lie to us. And lie is a pretty broad term. The withholding of information is all it takes to lie. And as long as we're calling the people that are withholding information from us news, we are in a pit. And we will stay there until we decide they're not news anymore. We will stay there until we turn our backs and look at other people that are telling the truth and saying, this person is news. This person is propaganda. And only then does the blatant camouflage disappear, because you're now comfortable enough to face what's truly there. There's so few of us that are comfortable enough to do that right now. I'm not going to say it's a flaw, because each of us are on our own journey. We're going to be coming at this stuff at our own pace. But there's so many out there that are claiming credit for being these bastions of truth, and they're lying to you every day. They won't even tell you Epstein wasn't a billionaire, because that would ruin the entire story. This story it's gold. When you tap into AP and the Reuters and you pick a story from there, it's going to give you 10 times the amount of flow of traffic. Probably more than 10, actually. It's going to be exponentially larger. Therefore, you're going to get more serotonin, you're going to get more dopamine, you're going to do whatever, you're going to get fed more by covering those things. Thank God I've got a tribe. Because if not, I wouldn't still be able to keep doing this. Look at my numbers. The more truth I expose, the more readers or viewers I lose. Before I publish the story, I already know ahead of time, because I've been doing this a while. Yeah, this is going to hurt too. I don't want it to hurt. I'd love to do better. And I'd freaking love to be successful and to have, 3,000 patrons and to be getting 700 shares because Epstein, blah, blah, blah. Or Q, blah, blah, blah. Or Trump, blah, blah, blah. This is the reason why truth is hard work is because it's alchemy. And if you're not willing to burn the calories, you're not willing to receive the benefits of the magic. All you guys been hanging out with me, man. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And now I don't have all the truth. I'm trying to learn as best I can every day. Luckily, some of you guys help me with it. All you guys do. My shit would suck if I wasn't getting the feedback I get from you guys. But California is a shithole. And it's not an accident. These guys right here, there's no way in the world that these guys are really trying to help California. I'm telling you, there's no freaking way. It is disrespectful for us to pretend like voting is constructive, legitimate, helpful, important, or necessary. I think we would do better by not voting. None of us vote. I realize that'll probably never happen because they've been in tune so much for that bump. Oh, I get a sticker. I voted today. And when people are in a pit, they'll do anything for virtue. If you come by and toss butterscotch candy down there, they're gonna freaking love that. Because that's what happens when you're in a pit. That's why they put you in a pit. That's why shitbags like this keep it burning. They keep the shit flowing. They keep the needles high and sharp. And they smile and look at everyone around. I love this guy. Oh, I love this guy. He's the greatest guy in the world. That's just shows you the magic works, man. It just shows you that. This is how it works. This is why lies are so rampant. It's because they're so profitable. You have the ability to make it expensive for people to lie to you. And it's going to cost you. It costs you money to call people out because no one else is calling it out. When I called out that Polly character because she was hiding the fact that Epstein was a billionaire, she released that there was a fire on Epstein Island, which wasn't true. And she got really pissed when I was trying to track Wexner to him. I had to make that expensive for her to do that. It cost me dearly because she's got like 20,000 followers. So of course, all these flying monkeys are in like, no, you're the bad one, James, because you're bringing a negative vibe in. And I'm like, all I'm doing is showing you words. All I'm doing is just showing you the tweet she sent. All I'm doing is holding her accountable for her own behavior. But in the pit, no one wants to do that. They just want light. They want any kind of light. They don't care if it's a spotlight. They don't care if it's a Q-beam. They don't care if it's a fire. They don't care if it's a flaming bucket of shit full of needles dumped down the hole. It's light, damn it. They're assets. The spell is breaking every day. I know that because 2 years ago I was under the spell and didn't see it. More of us are waking up every day. And the key is to make it, this sounds weird, but the key is to make it cool. We have to make it hip to be awake. And being truthful comes with its own vibe of like, wow, that guy's resonating. Like, I feel this truth in my bones. It comes with that. But on the other side of that is there's a big calorie burn that comes with it. And we have to be as patient, but as forceful as we can by holding people accountable for the propaganda they distribute as much as the truth. So reward truth when you see it, shun propaganda when you see it, and realize that all of us are, most of us are in a pit. Only some of us have made it out. And the last thing we're going to do is look for another politician who's just going to push us back in there again. And that's why I think there's progress. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. Give me a like if you like. If you don't like it, write why you don't like it. That'd be great. Give me a comment, share. Check me out on Patreon. We got a tribe going. We got a film coming out in spring. It's going to actually show how we can fix this place. Pretty excited about that. New books are out. Blueprints of Mind Control. Not the newest one, but man, good book. In fact, as of this morning, it looks like this is being translated in German. pretty excited about that. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, take care. We'll see you on the next one.